Good evening. and welcome to the class of 1992 commencement ceremony. On behalf of the class of 1992, I'd like to thank all of our families and friends for being a part of this special night. Since we've all been waiting for it a long time and thinking about it ever since we first stepped in the Fridley High School building, the night has finally come and we are about to take our last step before going our separate ways to follow our dreams. Good luck, class of 1992. Thank you.
trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is lifting up the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. His jewelers my feet. Oh, God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Sing the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the victors where the grace of random stood. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his miracles the sword. His truth is marching on, marching on, marching on, marching on, marching on.
Quiet down or Kurt's gonna have to get you. All right, before I get started, first of all, I'd like to say something. I think it's kind of important. I never really figured out who exactly won last weekend. And as time goes on, it really doesn't look like I will. But I would like to say that I'm proud to announce that the second annual Junior-Senior Water War succeeded in attracting more police than Briardale Park will ever see again. And in a way that's better, because as I'm sure your parents have all taught you, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how much chaos is involved. How much of a public nuisance can you be? Thank you. It was June of 1992, the eve of graduation, and Joe Average sat amongst his peers for what would be the final time, leafing through his program and pondering the absurdity of the silly thing that sat atop his head. As the voice of the commencement speaker droned on, he found himself looking back and looking ahead all at once, remembering 12 years of school and projecting himself into the future where he was doing something, but he just couldn't quite figure out what. He sat for what seemed to be a very long time in deep thought, until the name Average was called out through the gymnasium, waking him from his half-sleep. He rose and went forth to receive his diploma and complimentary handshake, and then sat down. Joe later left as the crowd dissipated, leaving the hallowed halls of Fridley High behind him forever. Now that summer drifted lazily, and Joe's pizza delivery gig served both to pass the time and earn a few bucks as he meandered through a summer haze. Soon, fall arrived, and Joe's thoughts turned to attending one of the local universities in the area, where he would stay for 4 years. Well, the years went rolling by, and so did Joe. Along the way, he got a job, got a house, got married, had kids, and the next logical step, he got a minivan. Indeed, it had been 16 years since Joe stopped using the Roman calendar as a unit to measure time, instead preferring to date events as they corresponded to his heart attacks. All in all, it had been a life. And Joseph Average took it in stride as time marched on. It was a Super Bowl Sunday, and Joe sat up at the halftime show and wandered into the kitchen in search of grub. Stopping halfway to the fridge, he turned and went to the garage. There stood the van. He looked out the window into the backyard. There were his kids. He then went back to his chair and sat in it, feeling very heavy. And it was on this Super Bowl Sunday that Joe Average, for the first time in his life, with the remote control in one hand and a Miller Lite in the other, first asked himself, where did my life go to? I ask you now, what is wrong with this picture? And if you say, Mark, the answer is simple. Poor guy's having a Miller when he should be having a nice cold Busch Light draft. Well, I'm afraid you missed the point. Nor is the point that jobs, marriage, kids, vans, and the Super Bowl are things not worthy of your time, for in most cases and for most people they are. The point is that you should never have to ask yourself this question, and you should never have to look back and wonder how you got where you are without first knowing who you really were. The point is that human beings, by definition, are limited warranty creatures. And if you don't use life to its potential while it's here, the whole experience may wind up being an empty one for you. Now here's the trick. How do you use your life to its potential, and what exactly does that mean? Well, there's a simple answer to it. It's the plain fact that nothing can compete with individuality. Now each one of us has the capacity to be something completely different, and sometimes this might be the only advantage that you have, but it is as powerful as you want it to be. No matter what your calling is, it is your capacity to bring personality to profession that will set you apart from the rest. Although now at the risk like sounding of a preacher, I have to say there are a few things to keep in mind during your pursuit of happiness that are good rules of thumb, if there can be such a thing. One of these rules is that things, and most importantly people, will always change, no matter what amount of effort you give to prevent it. I guess that the best defense for this is to flow with it. For when Cy Sperling creeps into your home late at night 20 years from now, proclaiming to the entire world that not only is he the hair club president, but also a client, you may not laugh. In fact, you might feel inclined to call Cy up, begging, yearning, striving to know about the strand-by-strand method of hair replacement. Something to think about, isn't it? It also goes without saying that if opportunity is presented to you along the road, take it. Be prepared to take it. Now this seems like a pretty easy rule to follow, but you'd be surprised at the number of people who spend the twilight of their lives wondering what might have been, wondering what they could have done. But now you are standing on the brink of the rest of your lives. And you have the choice to say something that belongs entirely to you. Don't leave without having said anything at all. Well, 4 long years of high school finally end here tonight, seeming to have passed by in an instant, and I still don't think we realize just how old we are to Fridley High School. Just think about it. Freedom Jam is so old, half the school does not understand this joke. It's probably been about 3 or 4 years since the last Rude Dog t-shirt was seen walking around the halls. It is with these signs that I know that it's time to wrap it up. For if you've ever listened to a small Russian man lecture on the rise and fall of communist schools at 9:30 on a Monday morning, you know what I'm talking about. Well, to make it short and sweet, to the class of '92, I offer you my most sincere wishes of success in whatever you may find yourself doing, and the privilege to be doing it according to your own standards. And one final thing. Please, if you can, never use the word not as a substitute for real wit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark, for those comments. and I'll try to cure myself from using not. It's my privilege this evening to perform two tasks. First, to introduce the school board, and then to make a few remarks to the graduating seniors. First, your school board, and if they would please stand and remain standing until I've introduced all of them. And then after I've introduced them all, I would ask you to join me in recognizing them. Mr. Gordon Backlund, Chairman. Mr. Jim Ferguson, Director. Mr. Kurt Schrupp, Vice Chairman. Mr. David Newman, Clerk. Ms. Linda Huber, Treasurer. Please join me in recognizing them for their efforts on behalf of the Fridley Schools. Now for the seniors, and first of all, I will start by congratulating each of you on successfully completing your high school career, on graduating or commencing and beginning a new venture. In many ways, there is something magical about graduation and about commencement. And I don't know about you, but when I was a 10-year-old boy, I was just fascinated by magic. And one night I had the opportunity to go to a magic show where there was a very skilled magician performing, and he tore this piece of paper up into all kinds of pieces, and he held it out here like this, and he said, "Abracadabra, alakazam." He said the magic words over it, and he said, "Poof." I guess I didn't work hard enough at that one. But I really was at a magic show when I was 10 years old with a very skilled magician. And he performed all kinds of tricks that fascinated me, including that one that worked a little bit differently. But then in the middle of the show, a really neat thing happened to me, that 10-year-old boy. He asked for volunteers, and I raised my hand, and he called on me, and I came up on the stage. And the magic man said to me, "Young man," he said, "here's a dollar bill and a pen." He said, "I want you to do it in your very best handwriting. I want you to put your signature on that dollar bill." So I sat there, and in my very, very best 10-year-old handwriting, I put my signature in the lower right-hand corner of that dollar bill right by George Washington's picture. Then I handed it back to the magic man, and he took my dollar bill and he took an envelope, and he inserted that dollar bill into the envelope. He sealed the envelope, and he put it in his inside coat pocket. And then he said the same magic words I just said. He said, "Abracadabra, alakazam, poof." There was a little bit of smoke, and he looked at me and he said, "Well," he said, "where's your dollar bill now?" I said, "Right there in your pocket." He said, "Oh no." He said, "That was magic, son." He said, "The dollar bill now is way over there on the other side of the stage in one of those balloons." And over on the other side of the stage, there was a collection of balloons sitting there, a red one and a blue one and a yellow one and a white one. And he said, "Which balloon is it in?" And I said, "I've been watching that dollar bill since the time you put it in your pocket, and it hasn't moved. It's still in there." And he said, "No." He said, "It's over there in one of those balloons. Take my hand." He walked me over to the other side of the stage. He said, "Okay, tell me which color balloon it's in." And for no reason, I said, "It's in the blue balloon." And the magic man, like magic, produced a pin. And he poked the blue balloon, and it popped, and the dollar bill floated to the ground. He said, "Go ahead, examine it." I reached down, I picked up the dollar bill, I picked it up, and I was stunned, because there in the lower right-hand corner was my perfect 10-year-old signature right next to George Washington's picture. Right there. I went back to the audience and I watched the rest of his show. I was fascinated. At the end of the magic show, I clambered up on the stage, and he was surrounded by other people, but I grabbed hold of his coat and I kept pulling on it until he looked at me, and I said, "Mr. Magician," I said, "how did you do that magic?" And he gave me a very unpopular answer for a 10-year-old boy. He looked at me and he said, "Through hard work." Yeah, that's it. The magic man told me he did that magic through hard work. Well, you folks here tonight, you people graduating, really have made a lot of magic in your high school careers. 30 of you have been named presidential scholars. There's something magical about that. 2 of you have been named National Merit Commended Students, which places you in the top 5% of all students nationally. 1 of you has been named a National Merit Semifinalist, which places you in the 1/2 of 1% nationally. 76 students in this class, 76 of you, on a 4-point scale, have a 3.0 grade point average or above. 36 students in this class before you tonight have grade point averages of 3.5 or above. And 6 students in this class tonight have grade point averages of 3.9 or above. That's pretty magical. You have a valedictorian in this class who has a grade point average above 3.98. You have 2 governor's scholars in this class. At least a dozen of you have earned a minimum of 15 college credits prior to graduation from high school tonight. A state tournament girls basketball team was produced by this class. A state championship in computer-aided architectural design comes out of this class. A wide variety of conference, region, and state award winners in music, drama, academic, and athletic competitions come out of this class of 163 students. 40 seniors, 40 of you, were academic letter winners as a result of having a grade point average of 3.75 or above over the last 3/4 of your high school career. Obviously, you have, as a class, have produced some true and real magic. At a recent banquet, one of your classmates, Erica Hiron, said, "Some people say that to get ahead in today's world, you have to know somebody." And then she went on to say, I agree with them. She said, to get ahead in today's world, you do have to know somebody. And that somebody is yourself. My personal best wishes to each one of you for the future. Remember, know yourself, work hard, and bring some magic into your life. Abracadabra, alakazam. Trust me, it really does work. Thank you.
Members of the class 1992 will please stand. Members of the Board of Education and Superintendent Renz, the members of this class have fulfilled all the requirements for graduation from this school, as set forth by the State Board of Education and the Board of Education of Fridley School District 14. In recognition of this achievement, they are entitled to their diplomas as graduates of Fridley High School. We seek the cooperation of all guests this evening in withholding their applause and cheers until the entire class has been presented. Chairman Backlund, at this time, Dr. Ingvelson and I will call the class of 1992 to the platform to receive their diplomas. Timothy Onnested. Brandy Agerbeck. Carrie Anderley. Jennifer Ashland. David Baldoff. Carrie Barrows. Jacqueline Bolio. John Bagardis. Emily Berglund. Ingrid Bergman. Andrea Bizarro. Corey Biller. Tara Bittner. Heather Bohm. Scott Brendan. Matthew Burdett. Lonnie Callistro. Stephen Carlson. Heather Chattel. Heidi Chattel. Chad Christensen. Brian Clausen. Denise Kappas. Todd Kramer. Curtis Dahlberg. David Daniels. Mimi DeLeon. Christopher DeLisi. Desiree Diggs. Brian Duffy. John Duntley. Rebecca Ekman. Mark Ealing. Kendra Ellenbecker. Brian Ingebrigtsen. Jeffrey Etlicker. William Feeney. Tina Ferguson. Paul Fisher. Kenneth Foote. Carrie Franta. Kelly Gosland. Brent Gable. Benjamin Garcia. Karina Garcia. Christine Gardner. Sharon Gatsky. Michelle Gervais. Mark Gillitzer. Rachel Goring. Kelly Goodpaster. Dawn Griner. Ryan Grove. Dustin Grolke. Christine Gulso. Laura Gunlugson. Kurt Gustafson. Stacy Gustafson. Martin Hofferman. Ryan Hall. Michael Hammernick. Ian Hank. Sarah Harmon. Darcy Harris. Andrew Hartfield. Erica Hiron. Matthew Henderson. Vanessa Hong. Daniel Hoybe. Jody Holland. Jeffrey Jancic. Alexander Johnson. Chad Johnson. Jeffrey Johnson. Megan Jones. Michelle Jones. Justin Capel. James Kazmarkowski. Nicole Keck. David Kidding. Irfan Khan. Ryan Kilber. Christy Kerwin. Randall Knudsen. Michelle Knudsen. Jason Crone. Jennifer Cupp. James Cush. Mark Keisha. Jason Latch. Christopher Lamott. Diane Lang. Allison Larson. Amy Larson. Eric Larson. Melinda Larson. Monica Larson. Kimberly Linder. Jennifer Long. Darren Lucas. Kim Mahoney. Amy Marcus. Nicole McAmus. Amy McGregor. Paul Medine. Tanya Melton. Sean Meyer. Scott Maholsky. Michael and Morkred. Scott Munson. Christopher Nelson. Douglas Nelson. Rebecca Nelson. Sandra Nelson. Christine O'Donnell. Jennifer Olson. Jason Oltmans. Joseph Osborne, Kyle Otten, Jennifer Palmer, Josh Paulette, Kelly Pedersen, Shannon Phillips, Sean Phillips, Corey Pierce, Michael Pratt, Barbara Prestby, Mary Price, Lori Reed, Jody Retzer, Kirsten Richard, Rafael Rivas, Brian Roach, Melissa Rudolph, Kevin Saba, Robert Schaff, Mary Schuler, Molly Seeley, Daniel Severson, Michelle Shorma, Jamie Squire, Brandy Stark, Jeffrey Svatkevich, Robert Taylor, Sloan Truax, Judy Toombs, Thomas Voss, Dong Vu, Jeremy Walksmith, Stephen Walker, Thomas Walls, Jason Wadan, Jeffrey Westland, Jessica Westover, Thomas Wickern, Sherry Wozni, Andrea Ross, Lynn Urigan, Wesley Zastapol, Carrie Zinter, you've been a great class. We've enjoyed the 4 years with you. My best wishes go with you. Thank you.
Lord, as we remember our past here, let us not forget the goals involved in our future. As it says in the book of Timothy, let no one look down on you because you are young. Be an example in your speech, your conduct, your love, faith, and purity. If we all believe that being young is a gift, then God, help us to open our gifts. Help us to share them with the world. Amen.